This video is a continuation on from the previous one, I think, really. I mentioned about house churches or home churches, that sort of thing, but this is focusing more on the persecution and focusing more on China. So it's a continuation on from that video. It's a sort of a part 2 for that. Very short, but it's just a headline I saw the other day from Christian Broadcasting Network. I don't know what you think of them, but it's a good read. You know, it really does highlight the situation in China. You know, I mean, I did mention what is actually going on over there, but it's more like a background on what these house or home churches are, which is basically just people meeting up in people's houses, but sometimes they can be bigger than that, warehouses and community centres, and, you know, they've got mega churches over there as well, but they're obviously more like sort of, the institutional church sort of thing, isn't it? But certainly the headlines that are coming out there and the stories, it makes a fascinating read, and it's a sign of the times. Most of the stuff that you see going on a lot of it's going on in the Middle East as well. They seem to be the two hotbeds. There's other areas, I know there's parts of Africa where there's stuff going on. I think it's in Nigeria, it seems to come up quite a bit. But it's certainly the Middle East, which, you know, is the hotbed, the origins, isn't it? It's going to be there, isn't it? Because you've got the Muslim faith, you've got Judaism and Christianity are all in that area, isn't it? So there's going to be that situation. But in China, a lot of the problems are stemming from not so much the actual faith. It's the communism is still very much part and parcel of the Chinese way of life, and the government view the Christianity itself as a sort of a superstitious religion that is something from the West and is infiltrating into the Chinese way of life, and they are looking to try and change that. And they're taking extreme measures. Yeah, and there's some of these headlines, I'll read out some of the stuff they're doing. I mean, they're knocking down churches sometimes, and sometimes 40 people are turning up, government officials. Yeah, and sometimes these people have got permits, they've got, they actually have been given permission to do what they're doing, but a lot of this has been changed. But some of the things that go on make your hair stand on end, and I think what's going on there's no exact numbers really on how many Christians there are in China, but the numbers I'm seeing is somewhere between 23 million and 97 million. You know, the cases of this persecution are rising, and they really are pushing quite hard on this now, the government in China. And I just thought I'd share some of these headlines with you. Yeah, if we look at this website here, freedom for Christians in China is the worst it's ever been. This came out Friday, 16th of March, 2018. And this Chinese religious freedom activist has spilled the beans, basically, you know. And he says the crackdown on Christians in China has meant that crosses have been removed from churches have been demolished, and Christians suspected of worshipping at home have been detained. A house church Christian in China's southern Guangdong province was recently blacklisted from employment after being arrested for his faith. And this guy said some officials even forced themselves to stay in Christian homes overnight to prevent them from midnight secret worship services. We have never seen this kind of extreme persecution since the end of the Cultural Revolution. However, he said the reason the crackdown has been getting increasingly worse in the past 5 years is because the number of Christians in China is rapidly growing. In 1949, there was only 1 million Christians. Today, after 60 years of non-stop persecution, there's over 100 million. I'm saying a lot of these, I'm hearing that they're not only are crosses being removed, but, you know, say pictures of Christ have been told to be removed and being replaced with the Chinese president, something like that. That's going on as well. There's loads of other headlines. I shall put them out there and you can have a read of them, but that is what's going on there, and it seems to be increasing in intensity. I remember seeing another headline. One guy was he's like a Christian activist type, and he's doing all this underground movement sort of thing. A guerrilla Christian, he calls himself. And he's been inside, he's been in prison. And his exact words were, I am honoured to suffer in the name of Jesus. That's what he said, yeah. And I think that sums it up. You know, Christianity is about suffering. You know, it is, a lot of it. It's not this candy floss. There is a lot of suffering involved, you know. So as people, regulars will know on this channel, I never paint Christianity as this fluffy thing and try to get you to come into the faith. You know, as I say, you read the book of Acts and you'll see the cold hard facts. But we're seeing the book of Acts very strongly in that China, and I'll continue watching the developments that are going on there. But it seems to me they're ramping things up. But like I said, so this is the downside of home and house churches. The government in China are seeing it as a threat, and they are clamping down. And if they've been given a license to do this, these licenses are being revoked. And, in extreme cases, officials are just turning up and they're just demolishing the place. And that's it. And it's across the board, not only Protestant, but Catholic, these underground house churches where people just meet up. But that is taking it to the extreme, isn't it? They are installing officials in these places where they meet up overnight to stop them worshipping, and stop them meeting. And that's what the Chinese government, they see this as some sort of underground movement that is a threat to the stability of the nation, I suppose, isn't it? But like I said, the more you try to suppress this and push it down or knock it down, it just makes people's faith even stronger, because they realise that this Christianity is not a superstition. It's not just from the West. It's everywhere, isn't it? It's global. There are over 2 billion Christians around the world that believe. 2 billion believers. There's a reason for that, isn't it? And it's not limited. Geography, it's not just from the West, is it? And to be perfectly honest, it originated from the Middle East anyway, isn't it? It's not a Western thing, is it? But anyway, I thought I'd share this with you people. And I suggest, yourself, keep an eye on what's going on in China. These home churches and house churches, it's very interesting. And what we're seeing there at the moment, I think, is the tip of the iceberg. This could start spreading globally. We're not seeing it too much over here at the moment. There's a certain freedoms, but I think eventually those freedoms will be eroded. I suggest you keep your eyes peeled on China. Very interesting developments there. And it's a warning of what is to come eventually globally. That's what will happen. And as I keep saying, the Christian faith will just go underground. Anyway, this is Frank of the 12 Gates. As always, keep your eyes firmly fixed on the Lord, and peace, love and joy.